You want to hear my story? All right, pull up a chair, but don't expect no pity party. Name's Walter Hayes. Folks call me Walt. 72 years old, sitting here in Mansfield, Ohio, May 2025 with a bad hip and a belly that's still bigger than most folks' egos. I've been fat my whole life, real fat, not just chubby, and it ain't 'cause I love pie. It's a thyroid thing, messed me up since I was a kid, piled on pounds no diet could fix. You want to know what it's like to be the fat guy in a world that hates you for it? It's walking through a gauntlet every day. Kids laughing, bosses sneering, strangers judging, all 'cause your body don't fit their picture. I got bullied, shamed, pushed out, but I learned to live with it, fat and all. This is my truth, raw as it comes, so listen up. I was born in '53, grew up in a clapboard house on Park Avenue, Mansfield, a factory town of 50,000, all grit and smokestacks. Mom was a seamstress, Pop worked the steel mill, and I was the youngest of three, with two sisters who got skinny jeans I never did. By 10, I was 200 pounds, big for a kid, sweating through shirts, huffing when I ran. Doc said it was hypothyroidism, gave me pills that didn't do much. Mom tried diets, cabbage soup, no bread, but nothing worked. I'd look in the mirror, hate the rolls, hate the way my chin doubled, but it was me, and I couldn't change it. School was where it started, the real hurt. Lincoln Elementary, 63, I was 11, waddle into class and kids would point, laugh, call me Whale Walt. One boy, Tommy Klein, skinny as a rail, tripped me in the hall, said, "Earthquake coming." The whole class roared, teacher smirking. I got up, face burning, didn't say nothing. That's when I learned, keep your mouth shut or they'll hit harder. Home was safer, but not perfect. Mom would say, "Walt, you're handsome." But I saw her worry, stitching my pants bigger every month. Pop wasn't soft, said, "Toughen up, boy. World ain't kind to fat kids." He meant well, but it stung. My sisters, Jenny and Ruth, were sweet, but they'd get teased 'cause of me. "Your brother's a blimp." And I'd see him cry. I'd eat Mom's meatloaf, feel guilty for loving it, but it was all I had some days. Outside, Mansfield was a small town. Everybody knew everybody, and I was the fat kid, the one they stared at in church, the one they didn't pick for baseball. By 13, I was 250 pounds, and the stares turned to whispers. Lazy, slob, like I chose to be this way. High school was hell. Mansfield senior, 67, I was 15, pushing 300 pounds. Kids were merciless. Stuff in my locker with candy wrappers, mooing in the halls, leaving notes saying, "Lose weight, pig." One guy, Bobby Russo, football star, shoved me into a locker, said, "You're taking up space, lardass." Everyone laughed, even the girls I liked. Teachers didn't help. Mr. Dawson, my gym coach, made me run laps, yelling, "Hayes, you're dragging the team down." I'd wheeze, sweat pouring, while kids jeered. I flunked gym, not because I didn't try, but because I couldn't keep up. I'd hide in the library, read comics, wish I was Superman. Not this kid who broke chairs just sitting down. The worst was 69, junior year, 16, 320 pounds. We had a school dance, and I worked up the nerve to ask Sally Carter, a quiet girl I liked. She said yes, and I was floating. Got a suit, Mom tailored it, bless her, and showed up, heart pounding. Bobby and his crew were there waiting. They told Sally it was a prank, got her to laugh when I walked in. "Look, it's the whale!" Bobby yelled, and the gym roared. Sally's face went red, she ran off, and I stood there, suit tight, feeling like dirt. Someone threw a soda can, hit my head, sticky mess dripping down. I walked home, 3 miles, crying where no one see. Didn't tell Mom, didn't tell Pop. Next day I went back to school. Head down, took the laughs. That's what you do, swallow it, keep walking. Work started early, 'cause I wasn't college bound. At 17, 70, I got a job at a diner, washing dishes, $2 an hour. The owner, Mr. Gibbs, white 50s, hired me but said, "Don't eat the stock, Walt." Eat the stock. I was 340 pounds, working 10-hour shifts, and he thought I'd steal fries. Customers would stare, whisper, "How's he fit in the kitchen?" One guy, regular, said, "Don't drop no grease, fatso." Every time I cleared his plate, I'd nod, smile, hate myself for it. My coworker, Eddie, skinny kid, got tips I didn't. Folks would slip him a buck, me nothing, like I wasn't worth it. I'd come home, feet burning, back aching, and Mom would say, "You're doing good, Walt." But I wasn't. I was drowning, and the world kept pouring water. That's my start, kid. The 60s and early 70s, when I was a fat kid learning the world hates you for something you can't fix. The thyroid, the pills, the diets, none of it mattered. They saw a whale, not a man, and they made sure I knew it. I'm 72 now, still fat, still here, telling you this because it's my truth. Every laugh, every shove, every day I got up anyway. Ain't proud, just alive, and that's enough for now. You're back, huh? Guess you want to hear how this fat old man kept going. I'm Walt Hayes, 72, sitting in my creaky chair in Mansfield, Ohio, May 2025, my hip throbbing and my gut still spilling over my belt. Been fat my whole life. Thyroid messed me up, piled on pounds no diet could shake. I told you about growing up in the 60s, a kid in Mansfield, getting called Whale Walt, tripped in school halls, laughed at for daring to dream of a dance. The 70s weren't no kinder. Washing dishes at a diner, taking jabs from customers who saw a slob, not a man. The 70s and 80s, that's when the world really tried to grind me down. Work, love, just walking the street, all a fight because of my size. But I kept moving, learned to live with it, fat and all. This is my story, raw as the hurt I carried, so settle in. By 73, I was 20, still in Mansfield, working at the diner, scrubbing grease off plates for $2.50 an hour. I was 360 pounds, shirt stretching tight, back aching from standing 12 hours. The boss, Mr. Gibbs, kept me in the kitchen, said, "Walt, you scare the customers." Scare 'em? I was 20, quiet, just trying to pay rent, but my size was a crime. Customers would whisper, "Look at that pig," when I bust tables. One lady, regular, left a note with her tip. "Lose weight, fatty, no tip," just that. I crumpled it, kept working, but it burned. My coworker, Eddie, skinny as a stick, got promoted to waiter, more cash, while I stayed in back, because Gibbs said, "Folks don't want to see you up front." I was better than Eddie, faster, cleaner, but I was fat, so I was invisible. Home was my shield, but it was cracking. Mom was getting frail, her hands shaking as she sewed my clothes bigger. Pop was at the mill, drinking more, saying, "Walt, you gotta toughen up." My sisters, Jenny and Ruth, were starting their lives. Jenny married, Ruth in college, but they'd get looks when we walked together, like I was their shame. I'd eat Mom's pot roast, feel guilty for every bite, but my thyroid wasn't letting go. Doc upped my pills, said try harder, like I wasn't starving myself half the time. I'd look at my reflection, hate the man staring back, but I kept going, because quitting meant giving them what they wanted. Work got worse. In 75, I was 22, got a job at a factory, loading steel parts, $4 an hour. Thought it'd be better. Real work, man's work. I was 380 pounds, strong under the fat lifting crates others couldn't. But the foreman, Carl, white, 40s, hated me. "Hayes, you're slowing us down," he'd yell, even when I outworked skinny guys. Coworkers called me lard, hid my gloves, laughed when I sweated through my shirt. One guy, Joey, big shot, tripped me in the break room, said, "Watch it, earthquake." Coffee spilled, everyone laughed, Carl smirking. I got up, face red, kept working. In 76, I asked for a raise, 2 years, no absences. Carl said, "Fat guys don't get raises, they get heart attacks." I was 23, busted my ass and got nothing. I stayed, because Mom's meds weren't cheap, and Pop's drinking ate our cash. The streets were no kinder. Mansfield was small, everybody judging. I'd walk to the store, 400 pounds by 78, and folks stare, whisper, "How's he even move?" Kids would follow me, chanting, "Fatty, fatty." One time, 79, I was 26, buying groceries, and a white guy, 30s, trucker hat, bumped me, said, "Move, blimp, you're blocking the aisle." I said, "Sorry," moved, but he kept going. "Lose some weight, pig." People stared, cashier smirking. I paid, walked home, bags cutting into my hands, feeling like less than dirt. Didn't tell nobody. Mom would worry, Pop would yell. That's what you do, take the hit, keep walking. Love? That was a knife. I tried dating, met a girl, Mary, 24, waitress, 80. She was kind, laughed at my jokes, didn't mind my size. We went out twice, held hands, and I was flying. Then her friends got to her, said, "Mary, you're with asterisk, that asterisk guy?" They meant fat, too big, too much. She stopped calling, left a note at the diner. "Sorry, Walt, it's not you." Not me. I was 27, 410 pounds, and it was always me. I didn't date again for years. Couldn't take the looks, the laughs. I'd sit at home, watch TV, eat Mom's pie, hate myself for loving it, but it was all I had. The worst was 82. I was 29, still at the factory when Pop died. Heart attack, 58, drank himself out. Funeral was small, Mom crying, Jenny and Ruth holding her. I was 420 pounds, suit barely fitting, and folks at the church stared, whispered, "Look at Walt. No wonder Pop went." No wonder. I was his son, mourning, and they blamed my size for his death. At the wake, a cousin drunk said, "Walt, you're killing Mom with your weight." I walked out, sat in my truck, cried where no one'd see. Didn't tell Mom. She was breaking enough. I went back to work, took the lard jabs, kept paying bills. That's when I started thinking. Maybe I'm more than their words. Maybe I'm enough, fat and all. That's my 70s and 80s, kid, when I was young, strong, but drowning in their hate. The bullying, the laughs, the jobs I didn't get, they tried to crush me, but I kept standing, because Mom needed me, and I wasn't giving them the win. I'm 72 now, still fat, still here, telling you this because it's my truth. Every scar, every day I chose to live. Ain't pretty, but it's mine. You're still here, wanting more of my mess? All right, kid, I'll keep talking, but it don't get any easier. I'm Walt Hayes, 72 years old, sitting in Mansfield, Ohio, May 2025, my hips screaming and my belly still hanging over my belt like a badge I never asked for. Been fat my whole damn life. Thyroid condition, nothing I could fix, no matter how many diets Mom tried or pills the doc threw at me. I told you about growing up in the 60s, getting called Whale Walt, laughed out of school dances, shamed for taking up space. The 70s and 80s were rougher. Dishwashing, factory work, folks calling me lard while I busted my ass to keep Mom fed. The 90s and 2000s? That's when I thought I'd break. But it's also when I started seeing I was more than their hate. This is my story, raw as the hurt they piled on, so listen close. By 90, I was 37, still in Mansfield, still at the factory, loading steel parts, pushing 430 pounds. My back was shot from hauling crates, my knees grinding bone on bone, but I was strong, lifting what skinny guys couldn't. The foreman Carl was gone, replaced by Mike, white, 50s, no better. He'd say, "Hayes, you're slowing the line," even when I outworked everyone. Co-workers were worse, called me blubber, hid my tools, taped a pig cartoon to my locker. One guy, Pete Loudmouth, poured grease on my chair in 91, said, "Sit in that, fatso." Everyone laughed, Mike looking away. I wiped it off, sat down, kept working, face burning. In 92, I asked for a supervisor spot. 15 years, no sick days. Mike said, "Walt, you don't got the look." Look, I was 39, best worker there, but fat meant I wasn't worth it. I stayed, because Mom was sick, cancer eating her lungs, and her bills were stacking. Home was a lifeline, but it was fraying. Mom was dying, her hands too weak to sew my shirts no more. My sisters, Jenny and Ruth, were settled. Jenny with kids, Ruth a teacher, but they lived far, and I was alone with Mom's care. Pop was gone, died in 82, and I was the one paying the rent on our old house on Park Avenue. I'd cook for Mom, her favorite meatloaf, but she'd barely eat, whispering, "Walt, you're my rock." Rock? I was 440 pounds, falling apart, but I kept going, because she was all I had. In 93, Mom passed, 66, left me a note. "Walt, you're enough." I cried alone, kept that note in my wallet, still got it. The house felt empty, but I stayed, because quitting wasn't me. Work kept cutting. In 94, I was 41, got moved to night shifts, heavier loads, because Mike said, "Big guys can handle it." Big. I was 450 pounds, my heart racing some days, but I handled it, because Jenny's kids needed school clothes. Coworkers got meaner. Someone wrote whale on my toolbox, Pete spiking my coffee with salt, laughing when I spat it out. In 95, I got hurt. Crate slipped, twisted my hip, pain shooting down my leg. Mike docked my pay, said, "Should have been faster, Hayes." Faster. I was 42, working through pain, and got blamed for my size. I kept working, popping aspirin, because Ruth's car broke, and I covered the fix. The streets were a mirror. Mansfield folks would stare, whisper, "He's gonna drop dead." In 96, I was 43, buying groceries, when a white lady, 50s, perms, said, "You're taking all the food, big guy." People laughed, cashier smirking. I paid, walked out, bags cut in my hands, feeling like nothing. Kids would follow me, yell, "Fatty, run!" One time, 97, a teen threw a soda can, hit my back, sticky mess soaking my shirt. I kept walking, didn't look back, but my chest burned. Didn't tell nobody. Jenny'd worry, Ruth'd lecture. That's what you do. Carry it, keep moving. Love came somehow. In 98, I was 45, met Linda, 40, a nurse at the hospital where Mom died. She was kind, saw me, not my size, laughed at my dumb jokes. We dated slow, coffee, walks, her hand in mine. I was 460 pounds, scared she'd bolt, but she stayed. Her friends weren't so kind, said, "Linda, he's too big, you deserve better." Better. I heard it at a diner, her friend whispering, thinking I didn't catch it. Linda stood up, said, "He's better than you'll ever know." I married her in 99, small wedding, 46, 470 pounds, suit tight, but heartful. She was my rock, but the world didn't stop throwing stones. The worst was 2000. I was 47, still at the factory when Mike fired me. Said, "Walt, you're a liability, too slow." Slow? I'd worked 25 years, never missed a shift, but a new skinny kid got my job. I was 480 pounds, hip worse, heart skipping beats, and out of work. Linda's nurse pay kept us afloat, but I felt like a failure. At the unemployment office, a clerk, white, 30s, said, "Lose weight, you'll get hired." I was 47, jobless, and my size was the crime. I took a janitor job, $8 an hour, cleaning offices, back screaming. Customers would say, "Don't break the floor, big guy," laughing like I wasn't there. I kept cleaning. For Linda, for us. That's my 90s and 2000s, kid, when I was a man trying to build something. But the world kept kicking me for being fat. The bullying, the firings, the stares, they wanted me gone. But I found Linda, found a piece of me that said, "You're enough." I'm 72 now, still fat, still standing, telling you this because it's my truth. Every jab, every day I got back up. Ain't easy, but it's mine. You're still here, waiting for the end of my story? Damn, kid, you got heart. I'm Walt Hayes, 72 years old, sitting in this old chair in Mansfield, Ohio, May 2025, my hip creaking worse than the floorboards and my belly still spilling over my belt like it's got a mind of its own. Been fat my whole life. Thyroid condition, nothing I could shake, no matter the diets, the pills, or the shame folks piled on. I told you about growing up in the 60s, laughed out of school as Whale Walt, taking punches for taking up space. The 70s and 80s were a grind. Dishwashing, factory work, losing pop, watching mom fade, all while folks called me lard and worse. The 90s and 2000s brought Linda, my wife, my rock, but the world kept kicking. Fired for being fat, shamed in the streets. The 2010S and 2020S, that's when I finally learned to stand tall, fat and all, and carry my scars like a badge. This is my last piece. Raw as the hurt I lived through, so listen up, because it's all I got. By 2010, I was 57, still in Mansfield, working as a janitor, cleaning offices for $10 an hour, my hip screaming from that factory injury in '95, pushing 490 pounds. Linda was 51, still nursing at the hospital, her smile keeping me going. We had a son, Tommy, born in '01, 9 years old, a quiet kid with his mom's eyes. We lived in a small house on Bowman Street, nothing fancy but ours. I'd given up on fixing my weight. Doc said the thyroid was a life sentence, pills barely helped, and diets just made me hungrier. I was fat, always would be, and I was starting to think maybe that was okay. But the world? It didn't agree. At work, the boss, Mr. Turner, white 60s, kept me on night shifts, said, "Walt, you're not front office material." I was 57, mopping floors faster than kids half my age, but my size meant I was less. Co-workers'd whisper, "Big Walt's gonna break the broom," laughing when I bent over, back spasming. One guy, Rick, left a donut on my cart with a note, "For the pig." I threw it out, kept cleaning, but it stung. The streets were a gauntlet. Mansfield hadn't changed, small town, big mouths. I'd walk to the store, 500 pounds by 12, and folks would stare, point, say, "He's gonna keel over." Kids would yell, "Hey, fatso," from bikes, tossing wrappers at me. In 13, I was 60 buying milk when a white lady, 40s yoga pants, said, "You're why healthcare's so expensive." Right in the aisle, people nodding. I was 60, paying for my own meds, and she saw a burden. I grabbed my milk, paid, walked home, heart pounding, didn't say nothing. Linda'd hug me, say, "They're wrong, Walt." But the hurt stuck like grease you can't scrub off. Family was my anchor, but they got hit too. Linda, at the hospital, was passed over for head nurse in 14. White nurse, younger, got it. Her boss said, "We need someone patients trust." Trust. Linda was 55, 20 years on the job, but rumors about my size, her fat husband, followed her. Tommy, 13, was in school, getting teased because of me. Kids would say, "Your dad's a whale," shove him at recess. He'd come home, quiet, eyes down. I'd tell him, "You're strong, Tommy, like Baba." But my voice cracked, because I knew I was his weight too. My sisters Jenny and Ruth were distant. Jenny's kids grown, Ruth teaching in Cleveland, but they'd call, say, "Walt, take care of yourself." Take care. I was 510 pounds, heart skipping beats, but I was trying. For Linda for Tommy. Work kept twisting the knife. In 15, I was 62, got a job at a warehouse, stocking shelves, $12 an hour, thought it'd be a step up. Nope. The manager, Greg, white, 40s, said, "Hayes, don't break the racks." Break 'em? I was 62, moving boxes others dodged, but my size was the joke. Coworkers would leave diet tips on my locker, cut out ads, lose 100 pounds. One guy, Dave, taped a pig sticker to my cart, said, "Oink, oink, Walt." Everyone laughed, Greg looking away. In 16, I slipped on a wet floor, hip given out, pain like a knife. Greg docked my pay, said, "Shoulda watched your step, big guy." I was 62, working through agony, and got blamed. I kept stocking for Tommy's school fees, Linda's car note. The worst was 18. I was 65, still at the warehouse, 520 pounds when Linda got sick, breast cancer, stage 3. She fought, chemo stealing her hair, her laugh. I worked doubles, paid $20,000 in bills, hip burning, heart racing. At the hospital, a white nurse, 30s, smug, said, "You're her husband? You need to lose weight for her." For her. I was 65, killing myself to save Linda, and she saw a slob. Linda died in 1964, holding my hand, whispering, "Walt, you're enough." I broke, crying alone in our house. Tommy, 18, holding me. Didn't tell nobody. Jenny and Ruth sent flowers, but I was alone with my boy, my world gone. The 2020 were quieter, but the hurt didn't stop. I retired in 2067, living off a small pension, 530 pounds, hip needing a cane. Tommy moved to Columbus, got a job, but visits, calls me Baba. Mansfield folks still stare, whisper, "He's still fat." In 23, I was 70, at the store, when a white guy, 50s, polo shirt, said, "You're a walking heart attack." I looked at him, said, "I'm walking, ain't I?" First time I talked back felt good. The bullying, the stares, they don't stop, but I do. I'm 72, fat as ever, but I'm enough. Linda said it, Tommy sees it, and I believe it. Every laugh, every jab, every day I stood up, it made me iron. Share it, carry it, let it shine through the hate, 'cause I'm Walt Hayes, big as hell, and I'm still here living my truth, raw and unbroken.